Good afternoon. This is Media Center Ukraine, Odesa, and we continue our work to discuss the creation of the National Nature Park Budzhatski Steppes. And I would like to remind that our audience can ask questions. Just scan the QR code on the screen. Our speakers: Iryna Shatokhina, Director of the Odesa Regional Department of Ecology and Natural Resources; Kusse, Head of Borodino Village Council; Oleg Diakov, representative of the NGO Rewilding Ukraine. Good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to give first floor to Iryna Shatokhina. And as far as I understand, you have presentation. Yes, the creation of new territories and objects of the Nature Reserve Fund is one of the main tasks of the Department of Ecology and Natural Resources of the Odesa Regional State Administration. For today, the department, together with the Borodino Village Council of the Belgrade district of the Odesa region and scientists of the Danube Biosphere Reserve and the civil organization Rewilding Ukraine, is working to create the new object, the National Nature Park Budzhatski Steppes, of the general square of 9.7 thousand hectares. The petition of the Borodino Settlement Council of the Belgrade district of the Odesa region was approved by a letter from the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Natural Resources of Ukraine. According to that petition, the territory proposed for the creation of the park is unique for the steppe zones of Ukraine, where the solid massif of cloacrum virgin steppes on a large square is preserved. The territory is noted by significant floristic and faunal diversity, as well as diversity of vegetable groups and landscapes inherent to steppe zone of the Ukrainian Black Sea region. It is also stated that this is the last significant reminder, virgin Budzhatski steppes, with the species of animals listed in the Red Book of Ukraine, as well as vegetable groups and plant groups listed in the Green Book of Ukraine. Along with valuable steppe and forest areas, 4 existing protected objects are proposed to be included in the park, like Staromanzyrsky Botanical Reserve of national importance and 3 landscape reserves of local importance, like Tarutinsky steppe, more than 5,000 hectares, Dibrova-Mogilevska, 45 hectares, and Dibrova-Manzyrska, 101 hectares. In accordance with Article 52 of the Law of Ukraine on the Nature Reserve Fund of Ukraine, the department received the consent of the State Enterprise Forests of Ukraine for the acquisition of forestry lands with a total area of 1.3 thousand hectares, which are in permanent use by the Ismail Forestry branch of the State Enterprise Forests of Ukraine for the further transfer to the permanent use of the future administration of the National Nature Park Budzhatski Steppes. At the same time, the departing is completing the drafting of the order of the Odesa Regional State Military Administration on approval of the petition to create the above-mentioned National Nature Park. To prepare the project, the scientists of the Danube Biosphere Reserve and the NGO Rewilding Ukraine are completing work on the development of scientific basis for the territory of the park. After receiving the above-mentioned documents, the department plans in the current year to ensure the project for creation of the park and also to send this to the Ministry of Environment of Ukraine and for the corresponding decree of the President of Ukraine, the establishment of the National Park Budzhatski Steppes. And thank you. Now I would like to give floor to Oleg Diakov to share your plans for the development of the park. Perhaps we could give floor to the head of the amalgamated community. Thank you. I would like to add to what has been mentioned by Iryna. The establishment of the national park started back then in 2007. And it seems now that we are at the final stage now to create the park. And first of all, I would like to thank the regional state administration for their support, including the Department of Ecology. And I would also like to thank scientists who supported us throughout the process. The establishment of the national park in Borodino community, which is the former Tarutino rayon, is a unique possibility to preserve those unique parts of steppe that is still preserved. I would like to thank scientists because thanks to them and the support of the Department of Environment, we were able to preserve those areas and to protect them from farmers and other enterprises. At the moment, I'd like to say that Borodino Village Council has approved all needed documents to establish the national park. Everything has been submitted to the regional administration. I would like to thank deputies of the Village Council who unanimously support the establishment of the park. 9,700 hectares is a rather big area, but our objective is to increase it up to 15,000 hectares. Borodino community has the territories that could be considered as national reserves. We need to preserve what this gift of the nature of God and to present it for the upcoming generators. And now I would like to give floor to Oleg Diakov to share the role of his NGO Rewilding Ukraine. First of all, I would like to emphasize that the establishment of the National Nature Park Budzhatski steppe is a rather unique situation for Ukraine when everyone together, that is local community, regional administration, and even local businesses, let alone scientists and experts, and also NGOs, work to establish such important reserve. Our NGO Rewilding Ukraine has been supporting this idea from the very beginning, supporting those experts who are involved in developing of documents, scientific basis, and we do a lot in the whole range of different areas which are related to the core of the future National Nature Park, that is the reserve Tarutinsky steppe. I'd like to say that generally this steppe area is the second when it comes to hectares in Ukraine after the biosphere reserve Eskania Nova, which is known all over the world. And this is important not only for Ukraine, but it is important for the whole world when it comes to preservation of such steppes that used to cover the territory from the Danube River to Mongolia, and were the cradle of many cultures, including the Ukrainian culture and other local cultures, Moldovan, Bulgarian, those people who still reside on this territory. I'd like to note that the ecosystem of the future park, and we can say it already is aimed at preserving for more than 25 red book animals, 25 types of plants and 48 kinds of animals. But when it comes to the establishment of such reserve, we should not only talk about preservation, but we should make steps for the recovery of the natural ecosystems. And this territory is a kind of a pilot project, not only for Ukraine, but for the whole Europe, when it comes to recovering of different types of ecosystems. And like the territory of the Tarutinsky Steppe Reserve, and there we have been dealing with rewilding for 3 years now, and we also try to recover the biodiversity with the key species like ecosystem engineers, and we have a unique situation for the whole Europe, and the international organizations are focused on the experience that we have been getting, for example, in Borodinska Hromada, when it comes to introduction of kulan, grass-feeding animal, kind of a hybrid of a wild donkey and a horse. We have been actively cooperating with scientists and other institutions like Kyiv National Zoo to recover 3 types of animals like hamsters, badgers, etc. Why do you cooperate with Kyiv Zoo, not with Odesa Zoo? We cooperate with Odesa Zoo as well, but in Kyiv National Zoo, they have the nursery, for example, for rodents like hamster. Is it on a paid basis? This is at the expense of our cooperation and the projects that we have been implementing in our region. And how much will it cost? Do you mean for the whole project, at least to bring hamsters and gophers to Kyiv Zoo, and we reimbursed all costs for transportation, for scientific conclusions, for creating enclosures for hamsters before they could be leave out to the territory of the Kyiv Zoo. And there they have a big enclosure for grass-feeding animals. And we have a good experience of Borodinska Hromada. 6 kulans were born in the territory of those Hromad, and the last time it happened 300 years ago. And this is for the first time, even for the whole of the Eastern Europe. This is a very important situation, and I would like to emphasize that especially during the war, we should focus a lot on preservation of the natural ecosystems, and also we should recover them on the non-occupied territories. And after the occupation, such objects as the future National Nature Park Budzhatski Steppes will be a source for the animals and plants, because all of us know what is happening now on the occupied territories, and we know that ecological ecosystems, natural ecosystems suffer a lot directly and indirectly because of the war, and this increases the significance of your work. But what is the amount? How much does it cost to bring animals here? I cannot give you specific concrete numbers, but it will be around $5,000 altogether. As for construction of enclosures, which are needed for the first year of accommodation of these hamsters, this is around $8,000. And I would also like to add that these is the funds which are not covered by local or regional budgets. These are the funds of the NGO. The state doesn't pay anything for that. Yes, this work is financed in the framework of the project recovering the steppes and swamps in the Danube Delta. And this is also sub-project of the program, the Threatened Landscape, which is managed by the Cambridge University. And the main partner is the NGO Rewilding Europe. This is our partner. And the project is implemented on the territory of the region, the Danube Delta, in covering Ukrainian, Moldovan, and Romanian parts of this region. This is the sub-basin of the Danube Delta. And it is also financed thanks to the money provided by the group of companies Arcadia. And what is the general invoice for the recovery of ecosystems? It is very difficult to answer without special preparation, because these are significant funds. 500 thousand hryvnias were spent for the recovery of 500 hectares of the steppe. This encompasses agri-technical activities, the collection of seeds, mowing, all these activities that were private in the framework and following the methodology of our steppe biosphere reserve Escania Nova. So the experts provided us information, the procedures and steps that should be made to recover ecosystem as soon as possible. As for the number of animals that have been brought, we just need to calculate everything, and I can do these calculations after the briefing. And I would like to say that recovery was rather successful. 600 devastated hectares were recovered, and you can't even just say the difference with the natural ecosystems. You say that you started in 2007. What were the burdens? What were the barriers? I haven't seen some major barriers, but we first decided not to make the establish the national park, but to have different reserves at the local and regional level that were created in 2012. And also, we selected the areas that are the most valuable for our process. And we just need to unite everything under the umbrella of the national park. Because other reserves, they do not envisage the separate administration. And when there is no administration, then there is no responsible person. What benefits can your community get from that park? A lot of benefits. First of all, we will be able to present these territories for us, and these are the heritage and values of the state of Ukraine, and everything is located in our Hromada. So this is what can raise awareness about our community. And so you expect a lot of tourists. That is what I was going to mention. So since 2017, we have been working on developing tourism on the territory of former Tarutina and now Borodino community. So we have already created territories that could attract tourists, and we also should preserve these territories as pastures to develop agriculture, because these territory should have controlled pasture for animals. Moreover, we should take into consideration that national park envisages additional jobs. And all this will create a boost for the development of territorial communities. And everything is paid by a company represented by Oleg. Recovery work is done by the NGO. But the process of the creation is free of charge. Everything just performs their direct functions. And we understand that if we have the status of the national park, then first of all, it will allow us to form administration, to coordinate and control the functioning of this territory. So no one says that this will be a restricted area. Tourism can be organized there, recreation zones, agricultural activities. But tourism is the creation of the tourism bases. Are you planning to have bases there? Where are you going to accommodate tourists? In 2006, and when we started that work, we first of all established the bases. And this is Frumushikhanova. This is one of the bases, one of these tourist areas. And the second area, what we are going to have, this is Lisne village. We are developing communal tourist center there. And everything will be created there for the tourists visiting the national park. So some infrastructure is already there. And we have been working on the rest of it. We have a negative trend in Ukraine when part of the resource national parks is rented for 20-25 years. Do you have such proposals from the business? No. And thanks God, actually. Because when such areas are rented or leased, the business establishes the conditions and not the law on the resource of Ukraine. But our main focus is the preservation of what is there and the environmental protection. As Iryna has mentioned, according to the project, in line with the project, we have the agrarian areas. And we would like to offer to develop organic agriculture in that areas. So everything should be interrelated. And one more question. Do you have the emerald status territories? Yes, most of this territory, around 6,000 hectares of this emerald status territory, the object of the Emerald Network. Almost the whole territory of that object of this Emerald status territories will be in the borders of the national park. And I would like to add a few important things when it comes to the necessity of recovery of natural ecosystems. This is not only biodiversity which is there, but these are also natural processes and natural cycles like hydrological cycles. Such systems are extremely important to support our small rivers and to protect them from disappearing. And there are around 10 different small rivers or their parts. It is very important. The carbon cycle is also very important, and we've heard a lot about how we need to cut on emissions, how we need to deal with carbon credits. when it comes to the creation of artificial forests. But our dry steppe ecosystems play a major role in accumulating and keeping of carbon for the long-term perspective. And this is how our black soil, fertile black soil, was created. Grass consumed carbon, accumulating carbon in this peak layer of black soil around 1 meter. That's why the recovery and preservation of such steppes is very important. And our ecosystems can be described as an iceberg. The grass that we see on the above and its fetal mass is significantly less than what we have under the surface. So we monitor the status there, which is important to get carbon credit for such steppe ecosystems. And this will be the additional revenue source for local communities, for the local population. And if we talk about the possibility to use these areas as pastures, and if we add here the possibility to recover biodiversity, and if we also create the places that could attract tourists, and if we create condition and involve this tourist component, and if we also add there the payments for carbon credits, then in our conditions of climatic changes, we will be able to have a more sustainable situation, because we can see the climate changes, and we can see the suicides among local farmers, because they need to take credit and they cannot get harvest for several years in a row. And so we can see the increasing risks, and such complex approach to ecosystems can be quite interesting for Borodinsky communities and other communities of the steppe area. And the question of Tarutino steppe, will it be included in the national park? Yes, of course. Tarutino steppes, which is of around 5,200 hectares, is on the territory of Borodino community, and this is also the part of the national park, Budzhatski steppe. And I would like to add to what has been mentioned by Oleg. Borodino Hromada community plans to get additional revenue to the budget, of course, at the expense of carbon credits, because apart from that territory, and we have other territories, we have an inventory of all pastures on our territory, and now we want to be added to the general register. We understand that Ukraine wants to join the EU, and we can see the experience of other Western European countries that have the same experience, and they are the EU projects that are aimed at the development of these territories. And that's why we would like to participate in the EU projects in grants. And for example, in Poland, the EU provides funds to prevent devastation of such steppe areas. Those areas that are devastated, the EU also provides funds to local authorities to recover those areas. That's why we want to preserve those areas, and I think that this will be also taken into consideration on our way to Europe. Thank you very much for joining the Media Center Ukraine Odessa. This is the last briefing for today. Thank you very much for watching us.